All right. Well, we're here for the transfer station task force meeting that will bring this to order. I think we got a pretty quick agenda today, depending on how long we want to discuss the ordinance. And I know that Aaron had some discussions about our Mr. Sanders from Camden. Mm-hmm. And so I guess we'll work through approving the minutes from last meeting. Are there any questions or comments? I see none. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Second. All those in favor? All right. We'll move on to discuss the transfer station engineering.
Okay, so I did meet with the select board last week. Excuse me, not last week. Oh God, it's been a month, 3 weeks ago now. About the engineering for the looking at the transfer station. I did reach out to Jeff Senders with the board's approval and asked him to come out to meet with you all at a per diem rate for the afternoon. Jeff was kind enough to say he's not interested in that. He's happy to come out anyway and meet. So we'll do that at no cost. Really, I'd just like to kind of get an idea as what works for everyone. When would be a good time for him as we move forward here to meet. So I don't know what everyone's schedule is like.
At the transfer station.
Yeah.
Will snow being on the ground be a factor? What he can tell?
I don't know. I didn't ask that question. So I don't know.
So we talked about, discussed about having him come talk to us. So the idea is to have him see the facility and then maybe on site there and then down here and discuss some of the ideas we had. I mean, we're basically pushing the building and so forth and toss that around. I mean, is this like a 3 hour, 4 hour? We need it the whole day?
So, no, I think originally we were thinking afternoon. So yeah, I imagine it's probably 3-4 hours.
I mean, if we're gonna meet up there, we want daylight, certainly.
Well, do we need to be there? Yeah, that's why I was.
Well, I don't think it's necessary to have everyone there, but everyone's more than welcome to be there. And so really more the merrier. But if we can't, get everyone there, that's not going to be the end of the world either.
I think it'd be most productive. Make sure someone's there to show him the site, George, and really go over it, fine tooth and nail, and then come back here and give us a presentation. But I just think that's more effective.
Yeah, I guess what I was getting at is maybe it's less interruptive for everybody to do it. So that, maybe 3 to 5 here or something like that, for, for a couple hours. I don't know what everybody's schedule is during the day. I don't have to.
And you're thinking not the site visit, but during the day to accommodate his schedule, because we don't need to have light here. We just need to have, he needs to have the light
up there.
The facility.
Right. Yeah.
I think I can't, I'll speak for myself. I don't get out of work till 4 and I take a lot of time off from work for other obligations for the town. I prefer, I'm not going to be on site when he comes, but if we could have the meeting here after 4:30, I appreciate it. So then whatever he's going to discuss it at the office.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking if he's willing to give us some time, though, we don't want to run too late in the evening. Probably, so give him a chance. He's wearing Camden.
Yeah. Maybe if we schedule somebody who comes up at 3:30 to assess the transfer station for an hour.
Yeah,
and then
give us until 7 o'clock or something.
Do you know what he has to do to assess the site? I mean, is it literally walking around and measuring, or is it core sampling? He's not going to do any of that, right?
He offered to do drone study, and then I think there was a question that was brought up at our last select board meeting by Mike about, and I don't recall Mike, about one particular facet of his quote that he didn't meet your expectations. That I thought we could bring up. You recall if that was maybe it was the core sampling or the
We didn't get into that much detail. The only thing I questioned was, is it only bid?
Right. I talked to Jeff about that. He said he wasn't surprised. Yeah. He could probably elaborate further when he's here, but those were directly emailed. So, yeah.
I would think he'd want an hour at least at the site, so. Just pretty much to look it over. I don't think he's gonna come and say, okay, these are your dimensions and this way you need to be. He just wants to see the site. Kind of, he probably has an idea of what the limitations might be there,
That's why I was thinking that
traffic wise.
and maybe this gets into paying him some, but it almost sounds like 2 visits. He needs to do 2 visits, one to come and actually take a look at the facility, walk away with that, whatever information he gathers there. And then he comes back to address us as a group. And I would just think he'd be better prepared to answer questions, or if he has some time to think about.
That's good. What about Zoom? I mean, we could have an electronic video meeting. You know, and that's a really good idea, because then he would have some data to chew on and stuff. George, how long do you think it would take him to evaluate the site? I don't really have a good handle on what he's gonna give us either, so.
Well, I guess it depends if he wants to watch the traffic and how the traffic flows. I mean, it could be a process of a couple hours.
We also haven't identified what we wanted. I mean, we left the last meeting
Yeah,
with the perspective of adding a phase 2 to his.
Mhm.
And, you know, we really have to come to terms of what we want to ask of him, so that he can see the limitations of the back part of the transfer station. And I think we all agreed that we want to do something with the MSW and potentially some kind of covering a building or what have you, but I think the thought process of adding recycling or down the road, we need to kind of tease out too.
So sorry, yeah, I know we talked about it, but we're asking of him to give us sort of the lay of the land and what could fit where, as opposed to a particular engineering of the site. Is that right?
We dispose. We need the engineering study for the building.
Meaning, is the ground stable enough to build or?
I think largely because I know we brought this up. The cost of the building's over $100,000, so we're required to have a PE review to develop the plans.
No, I'm sorry. So what I'm just saying is that it's sort of a general assessment of, all right, you could build here, but we don't know if they're gonna hit ledge. We don't know, I don't see how they'd ever do that without borings, right? So it's not that kind of engineering, it's kind of engineering. Well, you'll have to level it here.
I'm not an
I don't
engineer.
know what it means.
I think it's a question for him when he gets here.
yeah, I think those are kind of some of the things that
We should be thinking about.
would be part of that initial discussion, because otherwise, from his proposal and stuff, he'd like to go off and start designing something that we're not really partners with. I don't know. I just feel it's, the ideas that we've shared so far,
Mhm.
they were just sketches, and maybe, I'm not sure what we.
George, the ramp that goes up to the 2 containers. The new ones. Do we know if Gene built that?
Company Gene built that. He was working for the town at the time, but CES, I think, did that, or Al Hodgson, when they did, Al Hodgson did the transfer station. I think whatever engineer came in had that bill brought in, whatever.
But is it borrowed or is it like kind of important if you want it?
When was that done? After the Hodgson plane?
87, 88.
I guess I spoke before. I thought maybe Gene would have an understanding if he was working for the thing. Remember?
See, I don't recall him saying anything about it.
Yeah, and I don't know who did it, so
I know that
I'm hoping it's Phil.
yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure it's.
hope doesn't always get you. I'm thinking.
does it make sense to wave our magic wand and say to him, well, this is sort of our envision? I mean, the actual construction of the building, but we'd like to have a covered building here. We'd like traffic flow to go this way. And ultimately, down the line, we'd like to also see composting and, you know, some other industrial waste in sort of this area. And then ask him what he thinks needs to be done. But I don't really know what this type of engineering is if you're not going to give us a building, give us a road map. Am I making sense? I don't know what we're asking for.
Does he work with that EPA guy? Was it the DEP fellow that came out into the site?
He owns his own business.
Would he interface with that guy though as part of this?
Mike
process?
Parker,
Yeah, that's just,
Yeah,
Mike is not the director of DEP division that anymore.
but that division is who we'd have to be accountable for. If we're gonna build, I'm asking him. We'd be accountable for building the building and moving the traffic flow and stuff.
We'd have to get the site man or the project manager. The new project manager would have to be involved. Check in, it says Vera, I think her name is Vera.
And what department is Vera in? DEP.
D-
Is that what you asked?
yeah. And how Jeff would interface with somebody from the DEP
Yeah,
to make sure whatever plans he comes up with, that's probably a question for him when he comes that day.
yeah. Just to get back to your question though, Amy, we're looking at preliminary engineering work here. We started this and wanted to get an idea of what this is going to cost. And so, we're hoping that maybe this is something Jeff can do for us and to help us, give us some food for thought as we move forward.
So we can ask him for just a rough estimate. If this is kind of what we want, roughly how much would it cost to,
Yeah.
that's the engineering piece he's giving us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that we can identify grants, which he
Right.
has put into
Okay.
his bid to assist us with if we wanted to. And so we can start, are we gonna borrow money? Are we gonna pay for it with cash or? It's,
So
I guess I'm not thinking that we're gonna get any of that though until we agree with
Right.
yeah,
contract. We're not gonna get any specific numbers.
no, I know, but we have to give him our vision, otherwise.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm thinking this session is for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
It's almost like, yeah, we wanna meet with you, but you're gonna end up doing this anyway.
I think that was the importance of adding, trying to pay him the per diem to come up so that his time wasn't wasted.
Yeah, I figured so.
I feel like for the cost of what he's charging us and the fact that we're using ARPA funds to pay for it, I'm less concerned about him coming up twice and would more like just to have the conversation with him so that he's aware of what it is that we're looking for. I've stated all along, my primary goal is to improve the safety of the MSW, and the secondary phase is just kind of like the candy on the dessert. So if we can get that phase 2 planning while he's here, so that we can get the big picture down the road, how much money we're going to need, and offer that out to the townspeople if it's something that they want to do. I think this is a good time, and it doesn't have any negative impact on the tax base.
So would it make sense for us to craft our vision, send that vision to him, let him look it over and say, okay, I'm going to need to look at this part of the site versus this part of the site, whatever it is. So he meets with George or whomever at the site, then goes back again to wherever to chew on it, like Maggie was saying, and then present to us. Is that asking too much? I mean, I don't think giving him our vision cold call while he's sitting at the site makes any sense.
I think that's asking too much at all. But we're looking for.
Does he have all the drawings that?
Yes.
Oh, so.
That actually, all 21 people that I sent, the request for proposal got copies of that. He has a general idea. Yeah.
Do we need to give more information on that?
maybe.
all along in this process, and I'm relatively comfortable with the sketch plan that we've done and the concept, but I think it's important, I feel it's important for somebody like Jeff that's gonna work on this, you know, to offer that's good or that's not good, and, you know, not get locked into that. Be able to say, well, you know, I've seen these other facilities that work this way, and you ought to take a look at that. I don't want to be too locked into that. I feel that's the job of the engineer, is to
Okay.
kind of, you know, I'm kind of sensing that that's, yeah.
You're giving me a better idea. of where we're at.
If we're not heading in the right path, or there's something totally flawed with that, you know, take the stick and straighten it out. I don't know if that's right. You know, I'd welcome some other suggestions, so. I don't know if we're gonna.
No, I think it's important to.
I would be willing to, you know, be at the transfer station. Then after it doesn't storm the rain.
Would be also good to have it on the day the transfer station's open, right? So we can see the traffic flow.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Drew?
Yes. That would be good.
Yeah, we can handle the traffic. I guess, I mean, we can handle the traffic flow through counters, can we not? Borrowing counters through DOT.
We've done some of that work.
We did once, right? Or did you guys do it the second time?
We did it once.
Not the place like-
No, actually, we did it
We
twice.
talked about doing it
We
after
didn't get
the
the last
holiday.
meeting.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for that on wires.
The count is ordinance. Other,
Right, but we're changing the flow. So I guess I'm not sure how that's relevant. I mean, the idea is
Oh, I get you.
we're creating, you know, we're recommending creating a whole different entrance with a bypass, with a bypass, one going through the MSW and then one going to the right of it to go to bulk waste. So I'm not sure how the flow of the existing pattern applies.
nobody needs to see what's there now.
Gives us an idea of numbers anyway. Right? Not the flow per se, but how many people.
Lombard, what percentage of cars come in? What's the next step? Just to reach out to Jeff and have him pick it.
So it's
No. I've explained to them that I'd be talking to you folks tonight about this. And we get an idea of when would be a good time to meet.
So just to reiterate, so now it makes more sense to me. You've already sent him with asking for any proposals or your RFA or RFP, whatever you call it. Came with it, the drawing designs, the layout of the land as well, the parcel of land, I'm asking, and how you envisioned or re-envisioned the traffic to flow around. Was it that detailed or no?
I don't remember exactly what was this. We're talking months ago.
Yeah.
So,
we added phase two, you know, our last conversation added, you know, mattered to the.
Right, I was just thinking physically what we gave him. Did we give him?
I know I gave them the designs that George had drafted.
Right,
I
and the map,
I
we
I don't know.
should give him access to it.
I think the drawings had arrows of how it flowed through the building.
Yeah.
Through everything, so that's.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was,
So we can get him all that stuff when he's here.
Kind of layout,
Right.
you know, these phase one and then how to proceed with phase two. If we can, I mean, that will clearly, you know, I know I mentioned this like broken record, but phase two will clearly require variance. That there's no,
Yeah.
it doesn't, violates the setbacks.
And I think it's good to have phase two in mind, because you might do something in phase one that would impact that, the traffic flow. I also feel, you know, I have no concept what the funding going to be, or what requirements are going to be from the town for money, so this town might go to phase one, and phase two might be 10, 15 years down the road, could be totally different. So. It needs to be there in concept at least, but. Not totally,
Right.
phase one should not be totally dependent on phase two.
This is the
Right.
third bite at the apple at changing this transfer station in as many years, so.
It might be such that, phase one and two could be combined.
So I think we also should consider, Dan had mentioned that, we could always engineer down, a plan. So maybe we ought to keep that in mind that what's our Taj Mahal, so to speak, and then what can we live with, when it comes to price, wants versus needs, right? I don't see $1 million building getting a lot of support.
Well, I think we're at at least one meeting face to face at the site.
Yeah.
And then another meeting can be, depending how comfortable he is, I mean, if he wants to take some time, look at it. Back to us, whether it's electronically or not.
On a different,
On a different day, if he needs time. I mean,
What are you looking for him? Sorry, what are you looking for him to present?
everything he is making a recommendation for. I mean, he's gonna, yeah, I'm gonna make it up because I don't remember what the proposal was. Here, it's gonna cost you $8,000. What are we gonna get for $8,000? Or what do we need? And then Zach would say, well, does this include permitting or,
So he did propose that. It's in his proposal.
So I think for me, what I would like to see happen is I'd like to see Jeff come up and look at the site. And since we've added to the request, to allow him the opportunity to adjust any fees that he may charge, and then come back to us and say, the original cost was $7,600. I think it's going to be $10,000 now based on the new changes. And this is my timeline. And then we can have a better understanding. Because this is whatever he provides us. I don't think it's going to impact this budget year. I mean, other than what we've agreed to what we'll probably agree to set aside for the transfer station. And so we can pay for him to handle this over the summer if we choose to, and come back with the report in time for next budget season or to review what kind of grants are available.
Yeah, we're gonna need
just reading
time.
that first paragraph on the last page.
Good point.
He's not including geotechnical or structural engineering.
right,
It sounds like he can do it,
whether we're on,
Mhm.
you can drill down.
Yeah,
or
right.
You're gonna build a building.
right? Support structure.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was just reading that, I think I would think about that. But, I mean, just saying permitting, if he doesn't know the site, doesn't know that we have to cross a stream to get to traffic flow, and again, I mean, it's not gonna know if this is really feasible for $2,600. Or is he?
For 7,600.
No, so it's just,
Right.
I'm just reading final design and permitting, for example. Well, if we have to cross a wetland, change the traffic zone, something,
There's a new permit involved.
right? So I'm saying is, how does he know really?
Some of the engineering's been done. George, if I remember right, there was an engineering study done for the road from Hodgson, who is not, or CES.
I think Hodgson did that. Yeah, he did the study.
To come in before in this general location that we're thinking about now. I thought, but maybe I'm mistaken. I thought there was a piece.
Hodgson was going to expand it by having the exit further up the road.
Right. He did it.
Same entrance, I think. I don't know about the CES.
Or maybe I may misunderstand.
No, I think-
just remember.
I don't.
If you guys are comfortable with it.
I just-
Here. Okay, fine.
I'm just not sure anybody that's in business for themselves wants to go through all this legwork and answer a bunch of questions and then, then we don't hire them.
No, I get that.
So
If you think if proposal is appropriate enough for him to make a basic decision and that a site visit makes sense.
I'm just one person on this committee, so I'm just putting my 2 cents, so I'm.
I don't listen to you anyway.
I think it's important for them to come and look at the site. Either depending on the weather and the time of day, have to talk up there, or we could at least maybe after that, at a time that maybe more people want to. I'm thinking the sooner the better.
Do we want to look at a date?
Be flexible.
I did ask him, but I didn't hear back as far as what doesn't work for him. So maybe we throw out a couple dates just to
Might get more of us. If we pick a weekend. He's that flexible. See, person that can try and be here again afternoon. Has to be a Tuesday or Thursday during the week.
Okay. So
It's kind of
Um,
defer to him.
how does maybe the 16th or the 23rd sound? Maybe give him a little more time. I mean, today's the 4th.
You want to keep it on Tuesday? Is that what you're saying?
Does that work?
Thursdays
Okay.
Thursdays are probably kind of rough for Aaron. So
Yeah, Thursdays are pretty rough usually.
Gonna be this. I like your timeline idea. Get him here, see physically what we're asking him to do. And we fix this, and then we know where we want to go. Now we don't.
Does that work for a few of you? This
I'm good with either of those.
okay. Yeah.
One more time today.
So either the 16th or the 23rd. We'll keep it open for him. And then yeah.
16th will be at school board, but it's before that.
Oh, that's right. There's school board.
When is that the
16th.
Okay. Do
have we lost sight of the weekend or no?
yes. Do we want to say the 23rd or the 30th?
Because you want to be.
I don't want to be there on a weekend.
No, but you want to be at the meeting. That's why. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Aaron.
Okay.
I
You
apologize.
see, I didn't chime in when you mentioned that.
So yeah, call him, just say 23rd or 30th.
Does that work? Okay.
When's the first budget meeting? You said it was within a month.
The 6th of there's a workshop with select board on the 6th, I believe.
And select
And
board
then the
meeting
regular
posted,
select board meeting following that.
And pretty much
Eighth?
pretty regularly for the month of February.
That workshops and during the day.
Yeah, at 12:30.
So say the 23rd and
Yep,
30th. One of those two.
Public.
You have to keep in mind too, the traffic
You want to get through it.
difference this time of year.
We don't
Yeah.
allow public comment on the workshop. You can come and watch, listen, but it's for the select board.
23rd or 30th. Okay, I will reach out to Jeff and I'll let you guys know by email.
All right, sounds like a plan, so.
Oh, sorry. Time what are you thinking? 1 o'clock?
Look at that face.
I mean,
2,
I think we
3.
He's available.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would think, is it just strictly there on the site? Oh, coming here, waiting for feedback. So, yeah. I think a couple hours is probably gonna be adequate.
Sure.
That he could choose. I mean, if it's.
Okay.
Well, he wants to spend 4 hours there.
Remember, he's got 3 hours of friends time.
Yeah. That's good. Well.
It's dark.
But tell myself. Hold on.
All right, so
So I'm sorry. So how about once that site visit meeting date is set, maybe we can set a date subsequent to that for us to meet with him, whether it's virtual or not.
Let's see why.
You debrief
Right,
using his proposal.
Yeah.
As.
Yeah.
The agenda.
right,
I think we also have to give him time to reconsider.
right.
Well,
No, I mean, but
No,
reconsider his plan
No, no,
and
no.
maybe we reach out to him and ask him, those specific questions about the structural portion. Is it something that he's not willing to offer? Is he willing to offer? And how much? Maybe you can ask them that in the email.
Sorry, how much will you offer on what?
The structural engineering part, which is something, I mean, he's a PE, so I'm assuming he's capable of providing that service. I don't,
So are you
Well,
talking
you
about
just-
the building, or are you talking about the road and the building and everything else? When you say structure,
It's groundwork.
right,
He's qualified.
Well-
As a P.
you know,
Buildings is a whole nother discipline.
he passed the PE test because he answered the questions, but you know, his profession might be focused on other things. You could have a road engineer that probably wouldn't want to do geo. Well,
Yeah.
traffic.
no, I was just asking what Chris, you were asking. Are you asking for an estimate for building a building or an estimate for preparing the ground,
we,
site?
we need it all. I mean,
Right.
that's the whole point of this.
So you're asking him what he'll give us?
Well, he doesn't talk about, the proposal doesn't bring it up.
Right, and for a final dollar amount, they're gonna need to have at least the geotechnical side. The building design needs to be something that somebody's willing to put a stamp in. The subcontracts.
And then how much is it gonna cost?
So that's a good thing to get in discussion.
Yeah.
To know if it's gonna be another $8,000 for if that.
All right, are we all set on this topic? So we can move on to the transfer station ordinance. Thank you, Amy, for putting the work in.
Well, so Combo, George and I did it together. He gave me details and I just. Put them,
It's the amended.
yeah. So I actually sent everybody two different things. One is a clean bit, which Aaron printed out. The other one was just my attempt to mark it up as I think is required of us. Right. And there were a couple of places on the clean one that had some highlights. That's because I didn't have a answer to it or George comment, and that at least is on page 8. I know that one. See,
The clean one was the more recent one, most recent one.
I sent the clean one twice. One was just the clean one, and then I sent it again, the clean one and the marked up one. It doesn't matter which one you have, but it's the same. I just didn't know if people kind of lost track of it.
Well, yeah, and I didn't grab the marked up one, because is
I don't
that the one
need
that
it.
showed
I don't need
deletion
it.
and addition?
Neither
Yeah.
one of them had deletions, but at least no
Yeah,
strike
I'll
through.
tell you what I did afterwards. I mean, once we decide how we want it.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, but all I did with the marked up one was, mostly underline the new things and totally ignore formatting changes and all that, non-substantive changes. Because that would just been driving me crazy. I don't really think anybody knew it. So the other question I had was, I mean, I assume, are we giving the public the marked up one? It's really hard to read,
Yes.
but that's
Is that
part
the
of
small one?
Well, we're gonna want to show where the proposed changes are and what the additions are.
I mean, a lot
You have
of
to
it,
show additions and deletions.
Yeah.
right. So a lot of it is moving stuff around. We had this in section 2, but now it's in section 4, or something like that. I mean, that, I don't know.
That's not.
So if you move something, you would strike out
Well, that's
where it
true.
was and then
That's-
add the new language, underline it in the new language.
If you format it so it does it for you, it's going to do that.
All right, so So why don't, maybe, if this is okay, if we can work on the substantive part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I have put what you call it clean.
Okay.
I mean, that's the real nuts of it.
Right, that's what I think we need to discuss.
Yeah, the
first.
only thing I'm concerned about is there anything that we're eliminating that we need to talk about? So we need to see that probably forward. Before we decide.
Give her an answer the phone number that I thought I recognized.
Yeah,
All right, well, I'll let you lead the way, Amy, since you and George put the work into it. Maybe we can go through what section by section here on
Sure.
anything that,
So I'll just go through the markup one.
page one, page two.
Yeah.
So we added, for the title page, we added, and recycling words. We just had solid waste before, and then we added recycling. And then they also underlined amended 2023 effective 2000. That's new. And then starting section 4, authorized use, administration and management responsibilities, and we added administration. Section 6, transportation fees, section 7, littering.
Sorry, can you slow down?
I'll set, and this is
She's
just,
looking at the table of contents.
I'm just saying.
Oh, sorry about that.
So what I'm saying is that first, I apologize, the first table of contents is just, there's some new sections, like the littering sections new. And there are some where, it was just management responsibility, now it's administration and management responsibility, those kind of things. The underlying sections, yeah. And then we divided up a couple of things, so there's more sections, just to make it more really clear. So then actually getting into it, if you go to the ordinance, I mean, it's starting all the way in section 1. Just about, well, but I'd say in each of these, I'll just do section 1 and section 2 right now. It is essentially completely underlined, except for a few words here and there. And it's mostly because there's less of substantive change and just more of cleaning it up, because it wasn't that as well written as I hope it is now. But and there were sections that were sort of put in spots that just didn't make any sense to be where they were. So for a good example is section 1 now reads, the town of Vassalboro solid waste is new, ordinance is not, is new, prepared and enacted pursuant authority granted by title blah blah blah. Essentially that whole sentence is new, even though there was some of that in the old ways. I don't know how we want to do this today.
Section by section.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already made a few notes as you go through.
Okay.
Pause on each section just to see if there's any comment.
All right. So, but my question is, should I just read it out, or do you want to know exactly what was new and what wasn't new? I don't know how we want to do it.
I'm assuming that everything underlined is new.
Yeah, so do you have the underlined one?
Yeah.
All right, so you have the marked up, I call that the marked up one.
Oh.
So
Okay.
what Aaron.
I think we have the clean one.
The clean one. So the marked up one, the marked up one is the new, everything's new. I mean, this is the marked up one you have, the
The
underlined.
new one is clean.
The new one's clean, just so you
So
just
I
read it.
apologize.
perhaps it'd just be best just to go through it and just say what the changes were. I mean, we got another half hour here, so this is basically all we got left on the agenda.
So
Do you think that'd be enough time?
so the only thing I'd ask is,
I can keep my mouth shut.
Yeah,
we really should have, my only concern is we really should have a strike through. And I know we just talked about it, but for the next,
all right, so these were the questions I wanted to ask you. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of section 1 of the approved. This is the original, the 1988.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at what is equivalent to what you have in front of you, section 1, and its authority. And effectively, we have changed all that whole sentence.
Yeah.
So I'll just read it, but the old sentence says, this ordinance has been prepared and adopted pursuant to the provisions of Title 30, sections 1917, 2151, and Title 38, section 1721. Okay, that's the old one. In my notes, which I kept, I just struck the whole thing out because it only has like 3 words that are similar to it. The sections, the titles, everything is totally different.
But for the purpose of changing the ordinance, the working document needs to show that we struck out all this language and then underline what is in.
Right.
When we go to public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and then after that's done, then you get a clean copy.
right.
Oh.
So what I thought we were doing today was that we would look at the ordinance to see if it's complete, if it's the way it is. And so what I can do when we're all done, we're done making changes and stuff, I can easily take that whole section and just put it under the new language and just strike it out. So I'm not going to try to wordsmith it by saying, okay, we left ordinance in here and we inserted a word there and we left was in there, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what are you using Word document?
Yeah.
If there's an editing thing that would
Well, track
unfortunately do that for you, exactly what you're saying.
changes is okay if you do it once. And if you start moving things around and reformatting, and it gets really onerous really fast when it's not substantive.
Right.
So what I'm just saying is, as long as we can just, like the section 2, the only thing we kept from the old one, the purpose of this ordinance is to protect, and everything else was changed, completely changed.
Mhm.
So the
Right.
question is, I can simply take the old section, especially when it's big meaty stuff like that, and just put it under or on top of the new language.
But it would be there, but it would be.
It would be there, but
There would be
it'd
a
be struck
straight
out.
through. And then
Right.
you would see the new stuff
Right.
side by side.
Right.
And it'd be the new stuff would be underlined.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. As opposed to trying to fit it within.
I think in a case where it's the whole paragraph or
Yeah.
something, I think that's okay, because we can explain that.
So
It's not necessary if you've got, 6 words in a paragraph to strike out, just add the new 6 words or the 4 words or something.
Okay.
I don't.
I would show the exact changes. If you're to remove something, strike it out. And if you're to add something, underline it. But you have all the language in there, so
All right.
people know what it is that's
All right, but I'm
changed.
just gonna put the old stuff, as I said, put the old stuff underneath and strike it out and have the new stuff on top underlined.
Sure.
Okay. Then you get into all sorts of things where, all these definitions, some of them we just got rid of. Some we combined. And so where we got rid of, we'll just strike it out. Some that we
Yeah,
combined.
if you're getting rid of something, it needs to be on that.
We can just go through this and see whether or not the
Public
language that.
That's
Amy
what I was
has
asking.
Is appropriate. And
Right.
then she can go back in and add through the
Yeah.
straight.
Well, and that's where I thought we could do.
Yes.
I'm ready to do
Okay,
that.
let's do that.
So the set of
Question.
authority, you removed 2 of the Title 30, is it 1917, 1951? Is that pertinent should we remove that, or is that?
George gave me new, like all of them. So it's Title 30 now. I mean, it was Title 30, 1917, blah, blah, blah. It's now Title 30-A, Part 2, Title 38. This new one is,
Yeah, it's been updated. They changed their language in the last 30 years.
I would want somebody just to look those up and make sure
George,
Yeah.
it's subject. I think that's just home rule.
Yeah, not
It
Title
is.
30 home rule. And
It is home rule.
Title
It
30,
references the
DEP
I got it right here.
statute.
Should be on solid waste.
Because Title 30A, municipalities and counties, and then it just has part 2. Yeah, part 2 is municipalities, and then there's all of it.
Fair enough.
So it's two laws, 30A and 38, which 38 seems to check out too as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the attorney's going to look at this before it goes to a vote.
Section 2, purpose.
I'm ignorant here, but what's vector control?
George.
Could be in the definitions.
Yeah, so then we go, then we got an action, sir. I say George because I said, do we need to?
If you have
Vector
a question-
refers to it here. Sorry, go ahead. Vector refers to a carrier, usually an insect, bird, or a rodent, which is capable of transmitting pathogen from one organism to another or from one place to another.
So this question, are all the words that are under definitions mentioned in the ordinance?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I didn't go through all that.
That was one of my questions.
Okay, that's all I wasn't sure.
And
I didn't read the definition.
yeah, and George, may I ask you, the language you pulled out of here that was new, where did you get it? From other,
From other ordinances, from other, so I did a lot of looking up other ordinances in other towns. See what their newest ordinance were versus what their older ones were.
and then figured out what made
So I
sense
figured out
for us.
what we needed to change on ours and then kind of piecing everything together like it was a puzzle, you know. I mean, there were some towns that was huge ordinances with a lot of definition stuff. I just kind of did it pertaining to our facility and what we needed.
Great.
Yeah.
Definitions.
Yeah.
So here were a lot of changes, just formatting and style. You know, I literally tried to keep the style of it the same. Administrator is the municipal office. You know, it was all over the place. It may have said administrator and then said municipal officer, whatever. You know, it just wasn't consistent. So I didn't make note of, you know, adding it so it's actually a full sentence. I just made note of the underlying stuff that I'm giving people is what's substantively different. And so for an example, for the administrator, which was the second one on the definition, we added transfer station and recycling facility because it was the administration of the transfer station and recycling facility. And that's actually new everywhere. So it kept it, that we cleaned up the consistency of the managers versus directors versus the, not just saying facility, but what the facility is.
So who is the administrator? In our
Is
case,
the municipal officer who is responsible for administration of the transfer.
So- I have 2 municipal officers here.
To be the town manager.
I thought it was the town manager.
So that should be clear. Because we don't have an administrator here. Right? Or your administrator is the town manager. Is that what you're saying?
Administrator tend to
Final
be a
responsibility.
city administrator or
Right.
town administrator, which is an official position.
So should we say town
Maybe
manager?
I mean,
administrator shouldn't maybe be in there at all.
I get confused when I see administrator because I've been an administrator before and we don't have an administrator in Vassalboro. And when I look at municipal officers, I think select board members.
This is the perfect time to make the.
Yeah, okay. So it would make sense that can we remove administrator in the rest of the language? The word administrator, I'm not sure how many times it's referenced in the rest of the ordinance.
Whatever we just
And
say,
then if you just put the town manager in place,
the administrator is the municipal officer appointed by the town select board.
Say that again. You want me to just define the administrator right there?
Is the municipal officer appointed by the select board? Because we're the ones that appoint town manager.
Right, yeah, can you give me actual language that you want me to write?
That-
Can I work on that with you? Because they do split hairs over what a municipal officer is and manager, and I just don't want to confuse it.
And how, I guess how is that used throughout the ordinance if it refers to
Yeah,
administrator? a
that's
lot?
really, really easy to change. Once we get it, because the administrator was used,
A lot of places.
that's it.
I sort of agree with Aaron, that word is bad to have.
Replace one, replace
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's all it is.
I think it's
On the attendant,
So do you want me? I'm sorry. Do you want me to work with you on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll mark that down.
is there anything about ashes that's pertinent that needs to be brought up? I didn't want to jumble.
That's all right. We actually talked about that.
Okay.
we don't accept them,
Long as they're cold.
as long as they're in a fake plastic bag, cold.
So throughout, like, I did a quick search, so it's just, so hot load. Hot load refers to any loads of solid waste that are on fire, smoldering, or are potentially flammable by spontaneous combustion. Hot loads include wood ashes, cigarette tray residue, coal ash, and clinkers. That is the residue from a fire, etc. So ashes has been used.
Yeah.
Do we collect them? I don't, then the next one, household waste, also says ashes. So George, let me ask you that, so some of these were added and some were amended. I think we tried really hard to get just how we used it. I have to look up carrion.
George, I thought part of our goal was to pare down the ordinance as small as possible and put everything into your manual that you.
And that's where it refers to some of this is unacceptable, really unacceptable waste.
So that would be a reference to your DEP manual that you're required to keep, correct?
Correct.
So would we just, some of this can just be referred to that?
So let's go back up to acceptable waste. Okay, unacceptable waste, I have a definition there. Acceptable waste includes household waste, municipal solid waste, commercial waste, construction, demolition, debris, white goods, yard waste, tree and brush waste. And then underneath that, which is part of the same definition, refer to the transfer station operations manual for a current list of acceptable waste. So it was to give people fundamental idea of what it is, but the Bible is the transfer station operations manual.
So, and I kind of questioned that a little bit. I guess one of the things that I fear is if in the ordinance it specifies something, household waste can be interpreted an awful lot of different ways. But if it's, what is household waste to me might be different than this to
We
you.
have a definition.
Yeah, so I don't want it to be a position where George has to argue what, all of a sudden that's not acceptable because it's in the other one, but it says here that it's household waste.
So it may change.
Well, yeah, so by adding acceptable waste may include, and then you can have that list.
Yeah, and I saw that somewhere else.
Ultimately, the current list will be in the transfer station operations manual.
Yeah.
So that
Includes but not limited to
Right.
something to
Mhm.
that. I've seen that in one of the other.
We did do that.
Yeah.
So you want to do that with acceptable waste also?
Because we want George to have the flexible, whoever the manager of the transfer station, have the flexibility as things change.
and this part specifically gives him the authority to
change.
with the transfer station operations manual to say to someone, sorry, it's not acceptable. Here it is.
So as an example, I'm thinking, our brush and tree waste, tree pile, if that gets to the point where it's not productive or beneficial for us to have, the town may decide we don't want to have it anymore. And if it's in the ordinance, then the ordinance has to be amended. But if it's in the operations manual, that's done by. I mean, the select board doesn't include that, right? It's something.
No, yeah, DEP approves that. I can make the changes in the manual,
Yeah.
but I have to contact the property
Right.
manager and send them a copy. They have to update it.
So we
It's
could,
good to
get rid
define
of-
things, but if you make them too specific,
I see.
the,
yeah. no, it's-
well, household waste was a bad choice before because that could be a number of things, but brush and trees, that's pretty specific. And I hope they never ban them taking, it, but could happen. Costly now in the town to have somebody put that,
It's $2,000-3,000.
take it somewhere
Right.
else.
$2,000 this year.
This last storm.
Yeah.
It sounds like all of these things will say, acceptable waste referred to the,
Practically everything.
administrator referring to the, I mean, when you get down to it, isn't that what you're saying? And essentially, whatever is defined in the station operation manual, that's what you want to go by. So everything here, most everything, can just be, maybe I'm being a little facetious.
Well,
It's not just
Not really.
refer to the operation manual. I mean, that essentially takes care of what the problem you're saying.
It does, I mean,
The whole ordinance should be referred to the operation.
Ask George.
And,
I like that.
George
That's
is
the
here.
transfer station.
That's the, whatever it is.
and conversely, as you think about this a little bit, not everybody has access to the operation.
That was my other question. Where is this?
Yeah,
Is it
I
online?
never knew there was one until George.
It will be.
Okay.
If it's not, it
Yeah.
will be.
So the operation manual is in our rights to know section with all the information of our training and hazardous waste section. We have to have an operation manual on site. So if any given time, anybody that walks in the facility can grab that manual and say, hey, look, okay, this is how you walk through the facility. This is what they take. This is what they don't take. It's kind of a step-by-step basis as you walk through the gate, where everything is, what we take.
So does it make sense? I hate to say this, but does it make sense to look at that as we navigate through the ordinance?
No,
No,
We could just put, you're right, just put a comment in there that definitions of what's acceptable waste is referred to in the manual.
well, we have that.
there might be a few places where that would be adequate.
So we have that in the people.
You do, yeah.
We do.
Yeah,
But
I've seen
I agree with you. I mean, do we do it for every definition of bulky waste? Do we need to do it for that? Do we need to do it for carrying?
I would say maybe bulky waste, yes, just like acceptable, but carrying maybe not.
Yeah, carrying is pretty
Composting,
specific.
no.
All right, so if we get the attendant, Aaron, is that okay with you? That definition? I'll just put in.
Probably just remove the pronouns.
I thought, and I didn't put them in. George did. I was very proud of him for doing that. His or her. What do you want to say?
Just a general statement. Transfer station to the direct supervisor is the station manager.
That's what they mean, direct supervisor. Tightens it up.
And just took out his and her and put direct supervisor. Yes?
You just write transfer station manager is the direct supervisor.
Who answers to the transfer station manager or whatever. It's just,
And answer to transfer station manager.
Transfer station manager is the direct supervisor. Okay.
That's interesting. I don't know.
Lessons better.
Bulky waste, I added, refer to the transfer station operations manual for current list.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna
in,
say current list.
in those, should it say, includes but not limited to?
May,
Everyone.
yeah.
Yes.
Um,
on those kind of things.
yeah, I can do that. So, for example, I said acceptable wastes includes but not limited to.
Yeah.
And I'll just do that for all.
We're gonna have to amend this every 6.
I added the note here, and I don't know if this would even imply, but should we get into some definition here about commercial haulers? Is there any reason to do that? We don't have it anywhere. You know, maybe it's not appropriate till we start doing something, but haulers would be permitted, specifically permitted by the town. Sign a statement saying they'll only bring waste from the Vassalboro.
I think we said that. Didn't we, George?
Well, it does talk about waste generated.
Yeah.
Who is responsible if you're using a commercial hauler? Who's responsible if they're dumping something that's inadmissible?
The hauler.
The hauler?
The hauler is responsible, but who's infected?
Well, who, yeah, would be the hauler that would be called on the carpet by you.
If they're hauling one now.
If a hauler is dumping something that they've picked up someplace
Yep.
that's inadmissible or shouldn't be dumped because it violates a part of the ordinance, who's responsible for that? The hauler, or does the hauler go back to the person who put it in the truck?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's hard to tell. I mean, sometimes if you get something thrown in a bag, usually the haulers, if we haul something, we're the ones throw it into the truck, so we should recognize before we throw it into the truck if it's something.
Put like a bag full of leaves that should be composted, but it's rather is going to be dumped, right?
I
I
mean,
mean, who's
ultimately it's the responsibility of the hauler, because if they mix it in with the stuff, then you don't know what's. If it's being dumped, we can't see anything being dumped.
right? I just wondered if that kind of thing should be in the ordinance. Is there a part in here for commercial haulers?
No, there is. And
I
I just made that note to have
Yeah,
that discussion about it.
yeah.
I don't know that currently there's any reason to have that.
Both of the other haulers and myself also, I mean, we know, but from what they dump, they recognize what should be dumped. They usually bring in separate, like, that vacuum cleaners they go out in bulk register. They'll have the tool pile separate of whatever it is, like metals and stuff like that. So they're not mixed in with but what people throw in a bag, and we can recognize it without going through every single bag. If you pick up a bag, it's like, that's metal, I'm gonna throw it all back in the metal.
Mhm.
We're, but I think very fortunate right now because we know, it's limited. There's only, 3? And they're all town residents. So they have a vested interest in making sure things are pretty clean, but that doesn't say that somebody else could style a roof. Right. What are they going to do?
And that's happened in the past.
I'd like to, I'm thinking long term, that this is something that the select board starts to think about, is that, if somebody from Winslow decides to start calling, picking up in Vassalboro, we just say half the truck isn't from Winslow when they show up, but if they haven't signed a statement that they promised only. Anyway, I'm getting prior field here.
I think it's a good point.
It could happen.
I mean, it's got to have some kind of teeth in there,
And that's,
the
ordinance is where that happens. I think it's not the operation.
Yeah.
Well, I think the sticker program, what we give out and educate people on, is when you start hauling trash, when they first move into town, is we give them a copy of the sticker program, which explains nothing is to be hauled now in Vassalboro trash only. And that's part of what we give up information. Everyone new that comes into town, we give us, it's called the sticker program. We wrote up and it explains.
Is that included to a commercial hauler? Right.
I believe it is in commercial. Yeah.
So it talks about penalties in here.
So we're gonna not do any commercial haul right now for the.
I wonder if you just add something that
To be
you have to be I'd be amenable to You have to be a town resident to have a commercial business, hauling business. And then just alleviate some of it, and then require them to,
Would they have to be a resident?
you have to be a resident, use the transfer station now, so why would it change for commercial haulage? That wants to haul and use, and have access if they're. No,
You'd have to ask how the, I know at least one of the haulers, George probably knows, but, you know, they go to.
Johnny did.
Yeah. So, you know, he would be happy about having to get less than the China.
They have scales in China.
Yeah.
Let's do.
So it's not.
Excuse myself.
I always.
So what are we gonna do with this?
Doesn't go there, Maggie.
Yeah.
Sorry, we get to that. I don't know.
Sounds like maybe there needs to be another ordinance for the licensing. Operation commercial. Maybe alluded to.
I don't know if they have a business license or not. Honestly, it's never come across. It's something that's been renewed since I've been on the board.
That has never been.
I mean, it's, if you're a
Site
resident
review ordinance permit.
in town, you can throw your trash away for free. And if it's a town business that's doing town citizens, then why would there be a penalty? So long as they're not going outside the town limits to collect trash.
That's like the thing with China, like if you go to China and start a rubbish chute over there. You have to pay a fee, I believe, is on the commercial haulers have to pay a fee bringing it in, and their argument was. You know, we're bringing in residents' trash for them. Why do we have to pay a fee? We're only hauling the trash for them, which their trash is free to get rid of the resident brings it in. Why can't somebody else haul it in?
I just, yeah, and that's maybe something for the select board to consider whether they want to start licensing them, but there needs to be some agreement with the hauler that, you know, we can bring down.
So right now, I'm hearing what you guys are saying, but right now it says under section 4 authorized use. Availability and use of the transfer station shall be limited to resident and or property owners of the town or their contractors. For the sole purpose of disposing of solid waste generated within the town.
Yeah.
Doug, does that take care of your issue?
Yeah. I think that's written more for a building contractor or something that's hauling a trailer full of stuff. It doesn't specify. He's showing a letter from John Smith that he's doing work at my house and this is in the track. That means the wording of that would mean that all of the haulers have to have a letter from every one of their customers.
George, how's it work now? When collectors come, because you know them, do they have to show any original in kind of list of which households?
We never asked for a list of households. Kind of trusted some of the older ways.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no questions like there was another guy that had started a road 10 plus years ago. And when he first came in, he said he's going to start a rubbish route. And I said, okay, so this is the rules. Like, it can be Vassalboro trash only, nothing other than Vassalboro trash. He agreed to that. Said cardboard have to recycle. 48 cardboard has to recycle. He agreed to that. No, I understand totally. And he ran the rubbish route for about a year. The first morning he'd run half the trash in. He'd come from Lombard Dam Road up through and dump his trash, and then he'd take off and head back to the China Road and go up around the other side of Vassalboro, my understanding. And throughout the year, there was a couple times someone said, "Well, I saw him over in China." And I'm like, "Oh." So I questioned him a couple times. I was like, from the understanding I asked you was just, from Vassalboro trash only, nothing from China. No. So I took it all myself. I said, you know what? I said, I'm gonna check the second row. Every time you come in with the second load from the second half, I check a bag or two. I did that for like 3 weeks, and every single bag I took out of there was from China. So I questioned him. I confronted him one day, and I said, well, I took him to the side and I wondered what was going on. I asked him why it was trash from China. Gave me the excuse that maybe he had stopped at his daughter's house and grabbed a bag or two by mistake. I said, well, every bag I grabbed out of there was nothing from Vassalboro. All China. So I contacted a little bit further Mr. Pippin at the time. And I explained the situation to him. Because he came in with a second load for the second part of the day, and I said, "You're not dumping. I said, you can leave the yard. You're not dumping here again." I contacted Mr. Pippin. That didn't go over as I thought. Mr. Pippin's question to me was like, "Why can't you? Why don't you dump? You know, why are you not letting him dump?" So I explained to him. I said he was caught clearly from dumping out of town trash. And I think he came down to the town office at the time. I don't know what the fine was. I think he might have paid a fine. And he never come back in again.
Do you have the authority in here? Does that give you the authority to do that in this ordinance?
It should be under.
I don't know, but so when we're not going to get through this today with the time we have left. So why don't we just clean up this last statement about the authority and clear review, and then you guys get about, coming back another time to finish the second half.
So I don't have the knowledge like Doug has, that you guys have, in terms of.
We can examine
the ordinance. I can read this and it makes sense.
Refuse anything.
I can't read this with a knowledge base of what is really important. But I really kind of need to. Hate to put it back on, but I just don't know.
Well, yeah, and that's why,
Authorize you.
that's why I wrote a couple of things
No,
down
I
so
think
we
it's really
could
good.
talk about
And
it.
what about if we do this? How about everybody read it with their expertise? And then each of you come back to me with what you think should be changed. And I can mark it up so that we can have that discussion of those changes.
And then we could change, yeah,
Change.
have them over so ahead of them.
I'm retired. I'm not doing anything. Oh, wait a minute, there's this broadband.
Wait a minute, you can't convince me of that because I'm retired and I.
That's so busier than anything. No, seriously.
I haven't been home since.
Seriously, I can do this pretty quickly, but I need your input. I just want you to know, I don't. I mean, I think it's mechanically do it.
I'm only sharing some things that I had in other ordinances.
No, and it's great.
Stuff like that.
If it's needed.
And,
I'm not.
yeah, I mean, this thing about the commercial and another discussion around. Industries and things. We don't have an awful lot of them.
Right, so let's assign homework and a deadline.
See all violations.
And a reasonable deadline. And then whoever doesn't do their homework has to put up and shut up. You tell me.
Taking your phone.
No, I think it's really important. I mean, just, things like, I can do the things like waste includes, but not limited to. Yeah, that's pretty easy. But there are other things like junk. Junk refers to old, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I should say junk includes, but not limited to. Yeah, I can change things like that. Yeah, I got that now. That's a message loud and clear, and I can do all that. But when you start talking about who an administrator is,
So when do we want to reschedule the next meeting? Because now it's going to get tight for some of us.
I think we ought to think about it a couple of weeks. Yeah. Because of that.
And we need to, whatever changes we make, we need to have a public hearing, a select board, and then send it to the attorney.
Or vice versa, which goes first.
Public hearing, I think, and then the attorney, right? Because we might make changes at the public hearing. Any recommendations that are brought forward.
Yeah, we did ours the other way around. Fortunately. I don't know.
And then we're ready by March to be put on the ballot.
About the 18th January.
What day of the week is
Thursday. Same time. 2 weeks from tonight.
There was a
it? No conflict.
board,
We don't start the budget until the first week of February.
So that means everybody has to have their homework to me.
For a couple hours.
How about,
12.
yeah, I don't think it's one weekend for some of those people
That's a
who
long
actually
week.
work.
Yeah.
Okay, how about
Are
on
you just looking at Zach?
the 14th,
I work full time.
The when?
the 14th?
Zach doesn't work.
Just, he runs.
He runs.
He's the one who mentioned. Two. All right, I'm ready. Homework due,
When is the homework due?
Sunday the 14th.
Okay.
Should I give you a time also?
Sunday, sorry,
Make
14th.
it too early in the morning, you won't get anything.
Me neither. 5 o'clock. 5 p.m.
And we're sending our 2 cents.
Yeah. 2 cents comments, anything you want to me. I will synthesize it to the best of my feeble abilities.
And the intent is just to get it on the table to discuss. It might be wiped off.
Sure.
Right.
during the meeting.
There are some, if it's a noodly little thing, like limited to but includes but not limited to, I'm putting it,
You
all
already got that.
right, because that makes sense. That kind of things. If it's, you know, we switched a sentence around that was a little funky to make sense, we'll put it in, as long as it's not substantive.
Mhm.
Right, so Ann, you're gonna work with me about any administrator stuff.
Yeah, I already,
Okay,
Mary pointed something out that we can take care of that easily.
Okay.
So I'll reach out to you on that.
Except the next meeting, we keep that.
5:15. And then hopefully we can we'll just focus on the ordinance at that time.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to bring up?
We could do a follow about Jeff being here.
That same night. Yeah,
Okay.
50 times. Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, you're right. No,
Not until the week.
you're right.
Or the 30th.
So we'll just focus on the ordinance.
Have you should have you like commercial halls say get the same sticker program, you get the sticker on your windshield and you get the piece of paper that says the rules and I mean that's the same thing as if a resident coming in, you have everybody sign a piece of paper that says nothing, you know. I mean, when you get a sticker, maybe we should have everybody, hey, can you sign this? And you sign that, we, I don't know if that's
It's not typically done,
that's not typically done.
just in my experience. I don't know. And I think commercial haulers are not just the average Joe throwing bags of garbage away. I mean, it's a little more involved. So, but are we we're not going to address that in this now, are we? Or are we? Yeah,
Not tonight, for next time.
for next time.
Yeah, the meetings.
Well, I mean, we'll have to.
I hate to, I really hate to do much about it, but I just feel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it might be as simple as having a form.
Yeah.
The first time in after this ordinance is passed, George has him sign it. And-
Yeah.
And that's it.
I mean, my personal opinion seems it's okay considering the circumstances. Now, I mean,
Right.
they're a commercial hauler
Yeah.
versus an average citizen who's just, you know,
Right.
they're based on the, you know, sheer amount of trash that's being thrown into the system.
That's
just
what's
my
out there. I mean, we can,
Yeah.
we have add a section we got next week to talk
Yeah.
about, so next meeting.
Yeah.
All right,
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, the only, I sent you guys those sort of emails, excuse me. Just that MRC announced that, they're doing a testing for the Hampton facility.
Yeah.
And that they're collecting municipal waste from 5 different towns, and they're gonna do the, can't remember if it's anaerobic or aerobic, it's
Anaerobic
anaerobic digester to see what the quality of the gas is, so they're gearing up now. But they're actually working pretty exciting.
Cool.
Anyway, I sent you the MRC.
You read it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those there. All right.